Hi, this is Bob Samuels, founder of TechConnectr. TechConnectr is a marketplace and campaign management platform of best-of-breed, account-based marketing lead generation solutions. We help marketers deliver highly targeted quality leads for their sales teams. We've partnered with the B2B Marketing Exchange to bring you wisdom from leading account-based marketing thought leaders. To that end, I'm happy to introduce you to Marc Osofsky, CEO, and Jessie Coan, Head of Marketing for Aberdeen. With the recent acquisition of Big Willow, Aberdeen is able to deliver intent-qualified lead generation programs for their B2B clients. Marc and Jessie, it's nice to speak with you. How are you today?
Doing great, Bob.
Oh, we're good.
Outstanding. So I appreciate your joining me. This is a great series of ABM leaders, and happy to include you. It's a terrific opportunity for me. Could you give our audience a little bit of a background about your background and what you know about ABM and why they should listen to you?
Sure, Bob. So I'm Marc Osofsky. I'm the CEO here at Aberdeen. I've been a 3-time CMO, so I've been living in the trenches of this world, along with a lot of our listeners. And then my background is very data-driven. So I spent time at MIT and McKinsey, really figuring out how to take data and drive business performance results. And so we're in that transition in the B2B world. So it sort of all comes together for me in my own personal journey in the ABM space. Jessie?
And I'm Jessie Coan. I'm our VP of Marketing here at Aberdeen. So I've been at Aberdeen for about 5 years. I was brought in when we were formerly an analyst firm to help make that transition away from being an analyst firm and really disrupt the analyst space a little bit with content, different content types. And my background, albeit I've done marketing at agencies, I've run internal marketing teams and all kinds of stuff over the years, but it's really steeped in content and storytelling and being able to analytically, drive leads for sales or build stories for clients and just execute on just flawless marketing programs. So, I'm looking forward to chatting with you today, Bob.
Beautiful. I love your background. I'm a data person myself, Marc, and I've always had an appreciation for content folks, and you need both to be successful in this ABM targeted world. You guys have a concept called intent-driven marketing. Could you explain a little bit about how that works?
Sure. So, intent is still a relatively new concept, right? How do you have data and identify companies that are in market looking to buy what you sell? But it's been largely trapped as an attribute, within platforms as just another score. What it really needs to be is a whole concept for how you go to market and how you do your marketing. So if you think about the full funnel, how to identify companies that are in market. So I don't just think about a static list that I develop based on, firmographic or technographic data, but I'm actually always listening in the market for companies that are in market that fit my target market definition. So that's a very different starting point than ABM today. Most people start with static lists, so it should be much more of a dynamic process. So that's the top of the funnel. And then how do I drive awareness and consideration? So I can't just target specific companies or specific people. I have to be continually open to identifying companies with intent and making sure they're aware of me. So how do I do intent-targeted advertising? How do I have my ads reach those people and drive them to our website to increase our consideration? And then as you move down the funnel, right, how do I engage with content? How do I use the insights I gain from what people are reading out across the internet? And I see what topics are of interest. I see specifically what content companies are consuming, so I can target content to engage with them in a much better way. And then how do I drive all of that into opportunities in pipeline and make it operational with sales, not just with marketing? So ABM's been trapped for the most part within marketing and within marketing systems. And when you talk to sales, most of them are a bit frustrated with the volume of opportunities that marketing is delivering to them. So how do you make intent operational within their CRM systems and enable them to create opportunities and increase pipeline? So that was, I mean, there's a lot of concepts there I went through pretty quickly, but essentially it's intent-driven marketing improves the full funnel, right? It expands it at each stage in the funnel.
Beautiful. And that just brings to mind your recent acquisition of the Big Willow. How has that impacted what you're able to offer your clients?
Well, tremendously. I mean, as I said earlier, intent's largely been stuck as an attribute within marketing platforms, and we're very much at the beginning of intent-driven marketing. And so what's needed is really combining all of the elements that are necessary to help people actually generate opportunities in pipeline. And so for too long here, people have had to try to cobble things together themselves, and they're not succeeding that well with it. So we did a whole evaluation in the market, looked at the pure play intent providers out there, and did about a 6-month analysis of all the data, and found the Big Willow to be superior on nearly every dimension. The most important one being accuracy of the intent signal. Secondly, the breadth of the signal across segments and geographies. And then the strength of the team in working with their clients and delivering results. And then by bringing it within Aberdeen, we're able to really apply it across the full funnel, as I talked about. So it's impacting advertising and content and opportunity creation. So it's really been a huge impact for our clients. Yep.
So before Big Willow, I assume you had intense information, first party, if you will, on your sites, or when people are reading about with your assets, and now you've got third party, and the world is your oyster as far as the intent signals.
Correct. Yeah, we see 55 million, device IDs a day across 17 million companies, consuming content across 18 billion web pages and 480,000 keywords. So tremendous scope in the amount of intent signals that we're seeing.
Beautiful. And Jessie, I like your background on content. Could you explain a little bit about the content syndication and the buyer's journey and the art of putting the right offers in front of the right people at the right time and that sort of thing?
Sure. So it's a changing space these days with our ability to create successful programs, both content wise and also demand gen wise. And the idea, one of the challenges that we face and we hear our customer space, and one of the reasons to tap into the intent data and what Marc was saying a minute ago, is the idea of intent qualified demand is where we're headed. So content syndication provides a number of challenges with lists and buying lists and having opt-ins with GDPR and e-privacy. It's just becoming a little bit of a headache and a mess for marketers to be able to execute, period. They have to get creative. So, buying a list is a hard option these days. So with this intent data and the intent signals and device IDs and whatnot, we're able to provide an interesting alternative to our clients through this, we call it intent qualified demand. Depending on how they engage with us, 4 to 6 step process. That's pretty unique. So we'll look at their target account list and evaluate, help them understand from an ABM perspective, to tap into another thing Marc said a minute ago, static versus dynamic. The static list can be a hard thing to market into, because you could be marketing to the same ABM list over and over again. How do you know if it's correct? How do you know if it's the right audience? People aren't responding. So thinking about that on more of a rolling basis, and that's where the intent signals come into play. The ability to make sure that you have the right list and you're marketing to the right list. So with our intent capabilities, that's the first step in our intent qualified demand process. From there, we validate, we clean, we make sure that the list makes sense and the accounts are lined up. And then we put contacts in touch with an assessment tool or a self-assessment tool. So it's based off of our Aberdeen research and the ability for our, the client's prospects to look at themselves against their peers, similar to some of our research history if you were taking a survey and our research reports that would come out. But it's in an immediate, on demand, right there in front of you basis. So the lead would take the assessment, figure out where they rank, and then it provides some qualification information back to the client as the person evaluates themselves. So, that was a lot of information in a short period of time. But the idea is using intent signals to build a dynamic list. So you're looking at the accounts on a rolling basis. So you're not just dropping in the same accounts regularly at the beginning of the process. Engaging with these accounts and these leads as their intent signals show, having the prospects, qualify themselves, making sure that they're ranked appropriately and that the sales team, when they get the leads out the other end, are following up and they know how to get in contact. Does that make sense? Any questions on that?
Beautiful. So as opposed to a static list, it's the starting list may be a suggestion, but it really gets appended and with I guess lookalikes and people who are actually having signals out there that they really are interested in the solution that's being offered, as opposed to just hoping that people are.
Yeah, with this type of program, one of the neat things, and I'll just share, there's 1,000 different ways to use the data that comes out of this and the leads and looking at the accounts based off the intent data. But the one that I think, resonates quite nicely when I chat with people about this is the idea that you're doing, a demand gen content syndication program. You're looking at the intent signals based off your account list. You could be marketing to them, but you don't actually think about where they sit physically, the location of folks. So if you, back to the dynamic account list, if you're seeing that, blue widget company bubbles up, they have a pretty high intent score, and you know that your service sells into a marketing organization, for example. Let's say that marketing organization sits in Texas, but their headquarters is based in New York City. You know that the leads and the prospects that you should be contacting actually are located in their Texas office. So you're going to go look on LinkedIn. You're going to look at, when you're looking for contacts to engage with, it helps you target and get really clear in who you should be contacting rather than blindly emailing everybody on the list or blindly contacting everybody in their New York based office. Just as a quick example.
Beautiful. So you can target more specifically to, besides the company, the right location and ideally the right people within the location.
Right. You're not just blindly emailing and hoping somebody's going to click in a lot of cases or call.
Beautiful. Okay. So I suspect that both of you have seen some or been involved with some very, very successful ABM campaigns. Do you have any that you're able to share? I know you have some that you're in the works of publishing.
Yeah, so we've got a couple. We're working on some case studies right now that we'll tease you and your listeners with. So we have we'll be working on one with Commvault and one with Focus Vision and potentially a couple more. So those will be upcoming at the moment. So we'll send them as soon as they're ready.
That's great. So we'll definitely get the information out there once it's available. So that's terrific. What is your, again, account-based marketing is a new term, but it's the old target accounts and named accounts and so forth. What do you see? How do you see this concept of evolving over the next year, next 5 years or so? What do you see happening with this account-based marketing strategy?
Sure. Yeah, well, there's certainly a lot going on with it. I think the biggest dynamic we're seeing right now is the tension between sales and marketing. I think marketing's largely embraced ABM. Sales hasn't. Sales, still needs to hit their numbers. They got to hit their pipeline numbers, and ultimately they're still evaluating marketing on the impact they're having on pipeline. And so unfortunately, the marketing contribution to pipeline through ABM, tends to be less than what sales is looking for. We have some clients that have shifted their field marketing efforts from 80% ABM to 20%. and gone to more traditional methods to generate opportunities for sales. So I think we're in that transition period where sales has to really engage and see the value from ABM, and it's going to have to change a bit. I think for sales to really do that, one of the ways we've started talking about is, and I think others have started talking about it as well, but the target account list has to become dynamic. It can't be static and small. It's got to be a broader set of companies within a target profile or target market definition, and use intent data to determine who to focus on. The behavior, and companies are coming into market looking to buy, other ones aren't going to buy for a year or two. To build a list without that knowledge, is kind of crazy when you think about it. So I think that dynamic list is one thing that's happening here within a year. I think the second thing is really driving ABM information directly into CRM systems, predominantly Salesforce. So how does an inside sales team get the power of intent data and see which of those accounts are in market, what they're reading, and how to engage with them? They need the tools to be able to leverage it themselves. So that's another thing that's happening, within this year. Beyond that, I think, looking longer term, right now we're looking at account level signals. So looking at intent at an account level or a location within an account. I could see a world where we're heading towards intent at the individual level. The analogy would be like a credit score. We all have our own credit score based on our financial behavior. You could imagine a world where there's an intent score for each of us on various solutions based on our online research. So it would just be a score, nothing else shared, simply a score that would help people prioritize. So that's longer term, but I could see things moving in that direction.
Mm-hmm. I have one more thought to add to that. I think one
yes,
thing, and we didn't, just to chime in, we didn't talk about it that much. We briefly touched on it, but the idea of advertising. So with the, display ads, and I know a lot of the chatter over here is around Facebook or all the ads that follow you around, retargeting. I think you're going to see a big shift with ABM in particular, that things are going to get a lot smarter, a lot more targeted. And advertisers are going to have to be able to think about how they sell ads differently. So one of the things that we've noticed and have been successful with using intent data to do ads, and it's one of the things that we've done with our customers pretty successfully. So being able to dive into some of those niche communities where people are talking about specific key terms and putting the ad right where folks are chatting, even if it's not like the analogy that I use is, we're located in Boston, so I use Boston.com or CNN. If you're buying ads on those sites, you're competing with a lot of folks, and you're not always guaranteed the right set of eyeballs. But if there's a community in Reddit that's talking about PLM, and you make PLM software or drawing software or some sort of other lifecycle management product, why not get your ads sitting right there in front of those people who are talking about it? So my gut says you're probably gonna see a shift in the way that marketers, especially in B2B, are thinking about the way they approach ads and SEO to be a lot more cost effective.
Makes sense. So super highly targeted. So, which is great, because to me, it's I call it a double mitzvah. It's a double good deed. You're helping out the client, finding the right people, and then heck, the people that are looking for solutions, you're giving them something that they're looking for. So I think it's a great concept, and I appreciate it. And then as far as sales buy-in, the best way to get sales buy-in, I guess, is to get results out of the program. So in theory, it's a great idea, because these are the target accounts that should
the right ones to target, and if there's a win, everybody wins. So especially sales. So I'm optimistic that the coordination will continue to grow. So I thank you. I've actually, this has been a good conversation. Is there anything else that I forgot to ask or you'd like to include? Because I think it's been good information so far.
Don't think so.
No, it's great, Bob.
Beautiful. All right. Well, it's a pleasure. We will publish this interview. We'll follow up with links to the case studies so you can learn more about some of the cool things that are happening with Aberdeen and some of their clients. And Mark and Jessie, I appreciate your time. It's been terrific.
Thanks, Bob.
Thank
Enjoyed
you.
the conversation.
Take care.